Welcome back, everyone, to Zuma Fan. So, the Paw Patrol is in a pretty good place right now. We're getting another movie, the Mighty movie, and we're getting another sub-series, Aqua Pups. We're getting all new characters as well, and we're getting the Rubble spin-off show. So, the series looks like it's in a pretty good place. But, if you're someone like me, and you see things differently, and you focus on certain things, you come to realize that the show isn't actually good, and I'm going to explain why. So, I'm not going to talk about the Mighty movie, mostly because I don't have enough information on it to really say if it's going to be good or bad, so I'm just going to leave it out for here. So, let's start with the Aqua Pups. So, everything I've seen from Aqua Pups is fantastic. It looks great. All the suits are awesome. We're getting new characters. And so everything looks great. But what is there for me to find bad with this? Well, if you're like me and you focus on writing and lore and all that, then you would start to realize that nothing with the Merpups makes any sense anymore. See, back in Season 2, I believe, there was an episode where they introduced the Merpups. And it was made very clear that they would only show up during the Mermoon. And as Sky did say, that it would be a long, long time before the Mermoon returned. So it would be a long time before the Merpups were seen again. But of course, they said screw that when, of course, they did return. And we got to see Pup Linus and all that. And now they seem to continue to ruin it even more with this sub-series. Because now we are doing missions with the Merpups. And for me, someone who focused on the lore, I am really disappointed that they didn't stick by that. So now they're just kind of throwing whatever they've set up and said in the past, and they're kind of just throwing it away and they don't care anymore. And this is a huge problem because now anything can go. Anything that is said, any lore, anything like that, the show doesn't care. We also have the new characters, Moby and Coral. Now, the problem with Moby, even though we haven't seen much from either of these characters outside of how they're going to look and their description, but I can already tell that these two are already going downhill. Simply for the very fact that they're in a sub-series, and I'll get to Coral after I'm done with Moby. Moby is a villain, and even though many of the villains within the sub-series don't really have good motivations, and their actions can't be explained and all that, but Moby is different here because his motivations are actually kind of understandable. He is a merpup that, wants to walk on four legs. He wants to be like a regular dog, just like the Paw Patrol. And he's really annoyed by a lot of the other merpups that he lives with. And they don't really listen to him and they don't really care about him. And so he looks at the people on the surface and he yearns to be part of that world. And so this is actually understandable. He also has an octopus friend, by the way. And unlike all the other villains, this makes sense. But of course, since he's part of a sub-series and he is a villain, this kind of tells me that he can easily just go down the route of being a pathetic, worthless villain that shows up every now and again to just cause problems and then just get stopped. I highly doubt that they're actually going to take him seriously, or they're actually going to try to help and understand him a little bit if this is the case. Now, when we go into Coral being a family member, I could say, of Sky, was automatically going to get people interested, and that was the main reason why people were interested in her, because they looked very similar. And I just had to ask, if she wasn't related to Sky at all, and she wasn't her cousin, sister, or anything like that, would we really care about the character? Like, what makes us want to see this character? This is the problem for any new Paw Patrol member that shows up within the sub-series. The only reason why we even care about Coral is because she has some type of connection to Sky being her cousin, and that's really it. And so I start to wonder, wow, are they actually going to utilize the fact that these two are related, and are they going to attempt to have them have conversations together and interact? And the very fact that they have relation is really interesting, and this is the first time that any of the characters within the main six actually have a member or part of the family, a cousin or anything like that actually is showing up. So this is the first time, and it's also a bad thing because, as we all know, when it comes to sub-series and new characters that are introduced within the sub-series, they don't return until the sub-series returns. So the very fact that they're introducing Sky's cousin in here and Moby, unfortunately, we are more than likely never going to see these characters again. So they almost feel pointless. And Coral being Sky's cousin, this sounds like a character that should be introduced in regular episodes, just like a reoccurring character, but no. And this is why it's more than likely not going to turn out as good as we think it's going to turn out. Well, maybe the spinoff about Ro will actually be good. Well, if you ask me, I don't believe that it will. And this is mostly because meet the family. That's right. If this is Rubble's biological family, then this causes all sorts of problems, especially when it comes with the history of Rubble and his meeting the Paw Patrol and all that. And if it isn't his biological family, and this just happens to be maybe a group of kids that he's met in his past, or maybe this is just the new team that he might actually join. But I don't understand why they would regard a team as a family, especially since Rubble already has one, which is the Paw Patrol. And I'm not so sure if these two bulldogs are going to join the Paw Patrol or be their own thing. So all this is really difficult, especially since we don't have that much information on the show outside of there's got to be some bulldog characters and Rubble's what the show is about. But if we take it that these two are his biological brother and sister, then this is going to create problems, and quite a bit of it, because Rubble, as we know from season 1's episode Pups Get Rubble, Rubble is by himself, alone, and he's starving and all that, and we don't know precisely what happened to his family or why he's alone or anything like that. We just know that he is just alone. And if this is his biological family, then what have they been doing? Why aren't they together? It doesn't make any sense, and the show is going to have to explain all of this. But knowing how Paw Patrol is and how it's been for years, I highly doubt that they're going to explain anything. However, the biggest issue with this is the writing. And without good writing, everything that we've seen is superficial. The writing can still be good for these, but I highly doubt that. And I doubt that because of what we've seen before. And throughout all these sub-series, very few of them have actually come close to being well written. And even for normal episodes as well, they're just very, very short on well-written episodes. And so we've been getting a lot of news for the Paw Patrol series lately. And I look at it and all of it looks cool. But all that means nothing if the writing is not good. And unfortunately, I believe that the writing for all of this will be a complete failure. Because everything that I've seen leading up to this has been awful. We Paw Patrol fans need to demand better, well-written episodes that focus more on the characters, their relationships and all that. But I'm afraid that we're just not going to get that as long as we keep losing our minds and accepting the new coolest thing. And that is why I think that the Paw Patrol is failing. So, with all that, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys later.